Hi, boys and girls. Sorry I couldn't be there to read the test to you and help kind of guide you. Hopefully this will be almost as good. So make sure that you have your workbook in front of you and you want to find the workbook pages for Ancient Egypt, lessons 1 through 5. For some reason, I don't have a workbook in front of me. I believe they start on page 38, but I'm not 100% positive. So find those, okay, so we can at least move through that. And then when you get your test paper packet, I want you to make sure you put your name on the top along with what period you're in, either 5, 6, or 7, 8. I will read each of the questions to you as well as all of the choices, and then I will kind of guide you to the workbook where you can find your answer, and then you can make your choices, okay? Pause the video as often as you need to so that you have enough time to answer each of the questions. All right. So the first question, we're going to look at workbook key terms and people boxes on workbook lesson 1 and workbook lesson 3. But the question is, who created more trade routes to prevent invasion in Egypt? Your first choice for A is Menes, B is Queen Hatshepsut, C is Ramses the Great, and D, that didn't happen in Egypt. Well, we already know it did happen, so D is not one of your choices. So you can find King Menes in workbook 1 in the key terms and people box. And Menes was an Egyptian leader who united both Upper and Lower Egypt into one kingdom. Queen Hatshepsut you can find on the key terms and people box for lesson 3. And she was a new kingdom ruler renowned for expanding Egyptian trade. And then Ramses the Great is right below her, important new kingdom pharaoh who defended Egypt from invaders and strengthened defenses. So who created more trade routes? Was it Menes, Queen Hat, or Ramses the Great? Number 2, what determined a person's size in Egyptian painting? Is it A, their status in society, B, how tall they were, C, if the pharaoh knew them, or D, if they were soldiers? This you will find in workbook number 4. And it says that Egyptian paintings depict a variety of subjects like royal events, religious rituals, and daily life. The paintings also have a particular style. People are drawn as if they were twisting as they walked. They are shown in different sizes depending upon their stature in society. So what determined a person's size in a picture, in a painting? Is it A, their status in society or their stature in society, B, how tall they were, C, if the pharaoh knew them, or D, if they were soldiers? Number 3, to import means. This you can find on workbook page number 5 in the key terms and people box. So what does import mean? So you're going to go to workbook number 5, key terms and people box. Sorry, I'm in workbook 4. Workbook 5, imports, goods brought in from other countries or regions. So find your correct answer for number 3. To import means A, to bring out goods from other regions, to get out or to get, to give away, or to bring in goods from other regions. Number 4, to export means A, to send out goods from other regions, B, to get, C, to give away, or D, to bring in goods from other regions. Again, you're going to look in workbook lesson 5, key terms and people box. Import and exports are right there. Okay? I just want to point out for exports, they're items sent for sale in other countries. So is it going out or coming in if we're sending it? We're going out, right? So imports are goods brought in, exports are items sent out. So that's 4 and 5. Number 5, you will also find in workbook lesson 5 in the key terms and people box, long-lasting paper made from reed. Is it yellow paper, reed paper, or papyrus? Again, you're going to use, it is not 5. It is 4. Lesson number 4 is where you will find long-lasting paper-like substance made from reed is called what? That is question number 5. Question number 6. How was Cush like Egypt? And this we can find in workbook number 5. Cush and Egypt traded, but they also fought. So when we look at they didn't get along with each other, they only traded, the Nile floods provided fertile soil and farming thrived, or Egypt had more power. How was Cush like Egypt? So when we look down, it says the kingdom of Cush developed in Nubia south of Egypt. Just as in Egypt, and here was that question, how was Cush like Egypt? Yearly Nile floods provided fertile soil and farming thrived. The area was also rich in copper, gold, and stone. So again, for question number 6, how was Cush like Egypt? A, they didn't get along. B, they only traded. C, the Nile floods provided fertile soil and farming thrived. Or D, Egypt had more power. Question 7. What are trade routes? You can find that in workbook lesson 3 in your key terms and people box. Trade routes is the third word down. Pass followed by traders. So what are trade routes? A, routes followed by traders. B, migration. C, paths to walk on. Or D, routes to the Pharaoh would travel. Number 8. What was the form of government ruled by religious authorities? This you can find in workbook lesson 2. Government where religious leaders have power to make, approve, and enforce laws. What is that government called? Is it A, democracy, B, monarchy, C, republic, or D, theocracy? Number 9, who was Menes? And you can find information on King Menes in workbook lesson 1. He is here in your key terms and people box. You can also find him down below in the very bottom of that lesson. Kings unify Egypt. They talk about Menes. So who was King Menes? He's a pharaoh who increased trade routes, a pharaoh who united Upper and Lower Egypt, a pharaoh who died at 18, a pharaoh who was never found. Number 10. What would soldiers receive as payments? I could not find this on a workbook page, but I did find it in our Jeopardy game that we played yesterday, and I know that you talked about it with Miss Genovese. But if you look at the screen, the question is soldiers would receive blank as payments. What would they receive as payments? Again, the question is, what would soldiers receive as payment? A, land and treasure they captured in war. B, money and crops from farmers. C, amulets. Or D, a sarcophagus. Again, soldiers would receive blank as payment. Number 11. What calendar did the Egyptians create that we still use today? That was in lesson number 4, workbook lesson 4. And it falls under, right here, the Egyptians created two 12-month calendars. One was based on the moon and the other on the sun. The solar calendar was more accurate and is the one that we still use today. So what calendar did the Egyptians create that we still use today? A, lunar calendar. B, they did not create our calendar. C, time calendar. Or D, solar calendar. Number 12. How did farmers pay taxes? Again, I couldn't find this in the workbook pages, but how did farmers pay taxes? We talked about this in our Jeopardy game that we played yesterday. And how did the farmers pay their taxes? What did they give to the Pharaoh in place of money? Did they give crops to the Pharaoh? Did they give away their amulets? They made the Pharaoh a shrine, or they gave the Pharaoh hieroglyphic paintings. How did farmers pay taxes? Number 13. What art forms were created by ancient Egyptians? Is it just cave paintings, the Rosetta Stone, only paintings, or paintings and stonework? And again, that was something that I found when we were playing the Jeopardy game. And it was painting and blank were art forms ancient Egyptians created. What was that? Paintings and what? All right, number 14. Cush grew wealthy from blank with Egypt. Is it stealing, sharing, trading, or copying traditions? Cush got wealthy by what? I gotta find this one again. Cush got wealthy by what? Of course, I'm not going to be able to find it now, right? Holy bananas. All right, I might not be able to help you with this one. How did Cush get wealthy? Okay, well, let's see. Cush and Egypt were trading partners. Cush freed itself from Egypt and was in power again. The Cushites began to invade Egypt. So how do you think they got wealthy? If they were invading Egypt, but they also traded together. So did they steal, share, trade, or copy traditions? And then finally, so you're going to kind of have to take a guess based on what I read for number 14. And then finally, what three rich materials was ancient Nubia covered in? That was in workbook number 5. I just read it. It says the area was also rich in gold, copper, and stone. And it is also the question here. Oh, there's our Cush grew wealthy from. There's number 14. Ancient Nubia was covered in what rich materials? Okay, so I just read that on workbook lesson 5. All right, make sure you've answered all of your questions and then turn it in to Miss Genovese. I hope you did well.